The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
So this is the Alpha Sessions, and with me now, I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio by Alex from Alex the Wonderland. Welcome along.
Hi Alan, thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you in the studio. I know you spoke to Emma a couple of years ago online, back during the pandemic, and we finally made it happen that you got down in the studio. Long journey across London for you, but I appreciate you coming all this way. And it's actually in the middle, as we're recording this, in the middle of a really exciting time for you in terms of a new release, because you're sort of midway through releasing your new single in 4 consecutive weeks, which is a really interesting way of doing it. It's not something I've come across before, but tell us a little bit about then the new single.
Yeah, it's the first time actually I've attempted to kind of stretch out a release over a whole month, and the song has 4 different versions of it. So London City Don't Want to Dance is the track, and the first release on the 24th of March was the current sound of my acts of Alex and the Wonderland right now with Jeannie and Johnny. Hi guys, if you're watching. Involved in the production with it, and it's guitar-y, but it's kind of indie-tronica is the vibe of it really. So we've got like a skipping trance beat which kind of continues all the way through. But I've teamed up with other people too, so subsequently every Friday we're releasing a new version of the same song. So the week after that was the Whirling Merlin's dub version. Yeah. So he's kind of he's put a whole other spin on that I could never have imagined. And then the week after that is the blues version with the full band, drums, and we've got Essay and Sheena from Alabama 3 singing backup vocals there. We've got a violinist, Maria. So that's another take, and that was actually more along the lines of how the song originated in terms of like the first version of it. Mm-hmm. And then the final release is a commercial hard house version by a South African duo called Obitone. A production duo who are just killing it over there at the moment, and I'm a big fan of the sound and vibe that they've created there. That's really getting dance floors lit all over the place. So yeah,
as I say, it's a brilliant idea, and it's not one I've heard before, but I know lots of people do different versions of their song, but to release it over 4 consecutive weeks. And by the way, we've got version 5 coming up exclusively at the end of this programme, which is a stripped back acoustic version, but more on that later. So, I mean, you first actually released this track a couple of years ago, didn't you? What made you want to revisit the track?
The blues rock version of it was how my band sounded at the time. We had more organic instruments, if you like, and I don't know. I suppose I didn't. Coming out of the pandemic, I think there was a lot of obstacles there with us in terms of being able to promote the song and to perform live and do radio things, and it seemed that it didn't really exclaim to too much fanfare, really. But the song's always been in the back of my mind, and the current act with Johnny and Jeannie, now we decided to revisit it. I said to them, I've got this track. I think there's a possibility that it could work in a different domain if we can put like an electro beat underneath it. It could just have a different vibe, but I have belief in this. There's definitely a hook there, and there's definitely a message that I want to get out across to London, even if it's like a jovial poke at the audiences. So that's why we revisited. We performed it in a number of shows in the last few months, and I decided just to reevaluate it and get all these remixes done as well.
And do you have a favourite version of the 4 that you're releasing?
No, I like them.
You can't.
I like them equally. I like them equally. It depends what moods you're in, and I think it encapsulates me. It personifies me, because anyone that knows me personally will know that I'm a huge fan of all genres of music. I've worked for classical record companies before. I make hip hop beats for rappers. I do folky stuff and acoustic, as you've seen with the session today with you, and so I think it's just another instrumental way of showing what Alex Wonder's all about, really, because every genre of music is available there depending on your mood and what emotion you're feeling at that current point of time. So I'm just hoping I can encapsulate 4 different zones there.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see, won't it? Because if, like, for instance, the dubstep one or, you know, the week 2 one becomes like by far the biggest version of them, will you maybe think, oh, maybe I should go more in that direction, or are you just willing to try all genres anyway?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if like one of the other versions that I haven't been so involved with in the production, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a bigger, larger notoriety or something like that. We'll see, but at the moment it's just just trying something different, really, rather than just the one song 1 week. Seeing what goes, and as I say, like we were chatting earlier, it's a larger window for publicity and PR as well, to be able to get more interesting chats like today with you.
No, it's brilliant. Well, we love it, and thank you for coming down in the middle of all this promotional work that's going on. So talk to us a little bit about, I mean, you've said that you like a lot of different styles of music. What sort of music did you grow up listening to? Did you always like lots of different genres?
I suppose in the early days it was kind of pop and rock, and the first recordings that I had were of Squeeze and the Beatles. I was listening to those, so I had a great masterclass in songwriting from an early age just by having my headphones on and listening to all these wonderful structures and melodies and lyrical subjects that those guys in particular were looking at. And then as you grow, you meet people, especially living in London. I think there's such a wide cultural, cosmopolitan, vast abyss of an ocean rather of like music there, that it's not difficult at all to fall into these. You know, you'll get invites to an underground rave with psytrance, and then someone will say, do you want to come and see this reggae MC who's performing next door, or something like that? And so there's always these invitations to really taste all the wonderful, colourful music that exists out there through living in a city. That was not quite the window, the opportunity of that wasn't quite as wide where I was growing up in Kent, for example. So
I must admit, listening to your sound now, because you describe your sound as indie-tronica, don't you? And it reminded me very much of the sort of the 90s explosion of artists like Jesus Jones and the Soup Dragons and stuff. Did you love listening to that at the time? Was that an influence on your sound?
No.
Oh, really?
No, not particularly. And there's everything from my past has seeped in at some point, influential. Even music that I don't like necessarily would still influence me, and you remember and absorb it as a songwriter. So the indie-tronica thing, I feel like it's just really kind of created itself, that opening. It wasn't like a pre-conceited idea. After I got together with Johnny Hayes, the bassist, this time last year, I had a few songs batted about, a few ideas, but it was just him and me. And I said, well, by the way, I don't have the band that I used to have anymore, with the drums and the violin. Everyone's moved on or moved out of London, and I said, but we can try, like, with this drum machine, let's see what can happen of this. And we had like one rehearsal jam, and we got a few nice ideas, and suddenly there was an invitation a couple of days later to appear on a TV show as a pilot for a TV show, which was going to require us to write a song and perform it using like AI lyrics. So we would do all of the music and production, but they would provide the lyrics that was generated from a computer.
Wow, okay.
So I said to Johnny, I know we've only had one rehearsal, we've done no gigs together, but do you fancy going to a multi-million-pound TV studio with like a crew of 30 people and filming this thing with me? It's like, yeah, okay. I think he let out a big sort of Scooby-Doo gulp first, and then we took it on, and then that was the birth, really, of the indie-tronica vibe, because, let's say, we had it's a Korg Electric drum machine, which kind of gave us the impetus of the rhythm and the beat. we slept on the guitar riff over it, and the melody usually comes quite quickly to me with the lyrics that were garnered as part of the competition of the TV show. And and so it was born there really, sort of March last year, and since then we've created other songs that have a similar-esque vibe maybe.
So there's a lot of really interesting content going through your socials, and we'll talk about some of it in the next few moments. But one of the interesting things I saw that you do is that you build your own guitars. In fact, you is this going to become a business? I saw that you've done a new yellow electric guitar that you've done recently. Talk to us a bit about that.
Well done. That's good. Well investigated. Yeah, that was a project, a little pet project from, I think it was November. A few months ago, because I had bought an old guitar. It was a copy of a Fender Telecaster, and I just saw it in a pawn shop for like £40. Sometimes if I'm, in a charity shop or something like that, I might pick it up and then it's like, oh no, it doesn't play well. What am I doing? I'm, the little kid inside of me still gets excited when I see an unloved instrument, and just. There's nothing wrong with giving it a stroke and a little strum and making, I'm sure guitars don't want to feel lonely either. So, but I picked this up not expecting much, and I thought, actually, you know what? The intonation is good. It's actually holding its tuning. For that amount, I could just change the pickups in it and put better quality sounding ones in it. So I bought it, and I brought it home, and plugged it in to amp, and sure enough it didn't sound that great. So I thought, okay, I'm going to buy some Fender USA pickups and install that myself. I've done similar bit of wiring before, so no problem with that. And I looked at the rest of the guitar and I thought, it kind of looks a little bit bland. It needs like a real makeover. That if I'm going to, because I used to have a real Fender Telecaster like 10-15 years ago, and I was a session guitarist for a while and done little tours and stuff, but I ended up selling the guitar for whatever reason, and I slightly regretted it. I think every guitarist has a story where they sold a guitar and then a year later they missed it desperately. So that was an attempt, I suppose, for me to rekindle my love with the Fender Telecaster style guitar. And I distressed the hell out of it, refinished it, painted it, the fretboards well, put some gold glitter thing on this, and put a flower, stapled flower onto it. The decal at the top of the headstock, which says Wonderland, because obviously I sanded down the previous make of it, which said Shine or something like that. Sat down, and my niece Erin, she actually's got a small company called Peel and Sticks, and they do decals and stickers and arts and crafty sort of things. And I said, look, can you make a holographic Wonderland decal that I can put on the headstock to imprint the fact that this is my own kind of homemade DIY guitar and that. So she done that and stuck it on, and I'm happy with the results. I've gigged with it a few times. So it's nice to have a guitar which has a story behind it and a character, and that I've practically, with my own hands built it and then play it and then maybe destroy it on stage. Who knows? Burn it as well. We'll see. Truly
unique, isn't it? Well, I think it's brilliant. And is this going to become a thing now? Do you think you might be tempted to go in and do some more of that?
Funnily enough, Johnny from the band, he found in a skip this other electric guitar.
Yeah.
He gave it to me about 2 months ago, and I've been playing. I've strummed it a few times, but it needs work too in terms of the sounds and the playability. But it's got a cool tremolo arm on it. It's one of those sort of like 80s rock sort of Van Halen shredder guitars. So it kind of looks really sick actually, but it needs some time, some TLC on it. So there could be another one in prep, but I don't think I'll be making it a habit, because I'm really slow.
I was gonna say, it's a project, isn't it?
My carpentry and electrical skills and soldering skills leave a lot to be desired. So it's more just for love.
So let's talk about some of the tracks you've performed today, and we'll start off with the track called Spectrum of Light, which you performed for us first. So tell us a bit about that tune.
So that song is one that we are performing at the moment. I think it's actually Jeannie's favourite song that we perform at the moment, and it's quite a lively kind of floor stomping track that hopefully it's probably the most pop commercial song I've ever written, I think. But we kind of are going a bit more in that direction now anyway. And yeah, I don't know, what else do you want to know? Like who it's written about?
Yeah,
which
tell
individual?
us a bit about the track. Yeah,
You don't want to know.
Yeah. Oh, really?
She won't want that made public, I'm sure. But it's someone actually turned me on to the Alpha Sessions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's even more intriguing. You don't expect me to stop it there now. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
But yeah, it's just. I don't know what else to say about it really, but it's that acoustic version again, like London City. I've never really performed that just on my own on acoustic guitar before, so I'm not quite sure what prompted it. Maybe what I just said before, but if anyone comes to see the bands perform live, they'll probably enjoy a much better version of it. Like it's just a vibrant, uplifting, and I think people can resonate with it. We don't run like we used to. We don't talk, but we should do. We keep blaming the digits of time. I won't forget unless you do. We don't like we used to. Have we educated the sins of the mind? Told me so. Don't open bottle these memories that you've forgotten. It's heating up. Now someone's leaking. Temptation climbs from floor to ceiling. We don't run like we used to. We don't talk, but we should do. We keep blaming the digits of time. I won't forget unless you do. We don't like we used to. Have we educated the sins of the mind? We could share a light. We could share a light. Came back from more. Push launch button took me by surprise. Why get we stuck here? It's mutual. Now someone's leaking. Temptation climbs from floor to ceiling. We don't run like we used to. We don't talk, but we should do. We keep blaming the digits of time. I won't forget unless you do. We don't rock like we used to. Have we educated the sins of the mind? We could share a life. We could share a light. We could share a light. You were too pretty for me. You were too sexy and free. Just like a spectrum of light. We don't talk like we should do. We don't fuck like we used to anymore. I guess we learned. I guess I'm burned. Just like a spectrum of lights.
The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
Just the one version of this one so far, yeah.
So, yeah, well, opening up the airways. There's only jungle producers at home that want to like send in their requests for the stems,
reggae and all sorts. By the end. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows
love it. So, talk us through your songwriting process. I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but like normally, would you start with a lyric or would you start with a melody? How does it work for you normally?
It can differ, but I suppose as a little bit more of a conformed way that I would perhaps work would be the chords on guitar or piano first, and then if I'm having a good day, very quickly hopefully the melody will come out of my mouth and I just put da 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 da. Whilst I'm racking my brains, oh God, what do I want to talk about that I haven't already said in this month? So it would likely be in that form first, you know.
And have you collaborated a lot in your writing, or do you do most of it completely on your own?
Most of it tends to be on my own. Like I've started to write with the group, with Jeannie and Johnny, some things like they've really, although with Spectrum of Light, for example, you know, the lyrical content and the melody has been there for like a year or something or more, but they've helped with the structure of it, where we can go, you know, and some of the production elements of it. But I would like to write more with people. Like I've written probably over the years, maybe like, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 songs.
Wow.
And they tend to have been just me in a bedroom, tears in my eyes, looking down and just reaching for my soul. And I find that obviously starts off as a kind of therapeutical element first to get things off my chest or off my mind. But I would like to write more with other people. I don't get too many invitations, but it's maybe one day.
Oh, well, maybe this is the invitation then. There you go. Reach out now. Do you find that your band have an influence on your sound? Would you play a track to them and sort of get their reaction to see if it's something that you're going to then ultimately go on and record, or how does it work?
Yeah. You know, I've done that a few times where I've got other demos that I've made in my little home studio, and I show it to them and just say, hey guys, do you think this one's going to be... people are going to feel this if we take it to the venues. So I'm open to feedback from people, a lot more open than I used to be, I think, as well. I think it's important to get other people's views, isn't it, really?
And one of the songs I love of yours that you released at the end of last year, Electric on the Way, I absolutely love that track. Tell us a bit more about that tune as well.
Thanks. Well, that was the song that when I previously mentioned about the AI lyrics for the TV show, that was a song that we did write for that show. We were given sort of 7 days, but it really just came out in about an hour or 2 hours, I think, with everything really of it. And yeah, I've had a couple of different people actually in the last month say, I can really imagine that track being used on a car commercial, like electric car advert or something like that. Anybody listening, please get in touch with my sync agents. But I was happy with the response. Like John Kennedy from Radio X gave it its premiere airplay on New Year's Eve. And that's my support from radio stations, and
it's high praise indeed. Well, I think it's a great track. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely check that one out on all good streaming sites when you get the chance. You also mentioned that you do some charity work behind the scenes as well as your sort of music career. Feeling the Noise. Tell us a bit about your work for that.
Yeah, so I'm proud to be affiliated with Feeling the Noise, which is a charity that's been set up by blind and visually impaired people for blind visually impaired people. So that the founder and the CEO, there's two of them, Pauline and Jonathan, they're partners, and they both registered blind, but they've set this company up, this charity rather, to give a a space for people with visual impairment to perform music, to rehearse and jam, meet other like-minded people. They have like a sort of social gathering for tea and cakes on Thursdays. This is down in Catford, South East London. But the Wednesday morning to afternoon is just purely for the band rehearsals. So we have 4 hours put away where we can learn new songs, and we do covers of well-known songs as well. But they've got everything set up there: drums, amps, keyboards, and yeah, I guess I've been drafted in or volunteered myself to kind of bring up the professionalism slightly, you know. Although they've been going for years and they've done performances in, you know, village fetes in the church and stuff like that. I've certainly got some ambitions and drive to pursue this with them and take it to the next level, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah, we really are on the hunt for more members to join. If anybody listening or watching knows anyone that might have struggles with their eyesight but is musically minded, or they sing, or you know, whatever it might be, they want to get involved, we'd love to have them there. And also to find more volunteers and to assist with accessibility for the individuals and set refreshments and pack up with the equipment, things like this. You know, it's the more members that we have that we're able to accommodate for and to give an opportunity for them to express themselves, of course, requires more assistance and help from other people, because we're working with vulnerable people, and so it's something that I feel delighted to be the part of, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow.
Yeah, it's a great cause. Well, we'll definitely make sure we put a link on our website, on the YouTube site, to make sure.
Yeah, feelingthenoise.com is the website.
Yeah.
I should know that because I've actually built the website just yesterday. I thought it was just going to be purely in the music capacity, but then when you're working, when you know the director is blind, you know, they need a lot of assistance in other aspects too. So I've been building the website too for them. And as I say, yeah, we're based in South East London, and if there's anyone that would like to be involved, or you know someone that would like to be involved, then please get in touch.
So let's talk about another song that you performed for us called Hey Soldier, and there's quite a story behind this one, isn't it? Tell us a bit about that song.
Well, it's an ode to the soldiers who are fighting on the front line in Ukraine. Both sides, really. Like it's not necessarily. I think it's just like an empathetic or sympathetic ear to anyone that's been kind of forced into risking their skin, especially now, like sort of coming out of a freezing cold winter as it would be in the Ukraine. I know, you can't imagine really the sort of more dire situation, really, being in the trenches. So it's just although it's a sad song on one side, it's also quite a hopeful song, I think. And you know, I really hope that it will date quickly and that world peace will come in that corner of Europe. But it was just something that was on my mind, because I've been following the war and the press coverage of it really since the start. And sometimes you can feel a bit helpless, because ultimately you want the invasion to finish. I know we can sort of pick up the pieces a little bit and donate money and save, but really the one thing that you wish for is that the bombs will stop to drop. It's funny how someone from far away thinks about you and visions of yesterday. It seems too late when all decisions have been made. Without shame you try to put them aside, but your head keeps buoyant through the stormy tides. You mean much more to them than you're prepared to admit to your pride. Hey, brave soldier, you won't have to suffer much more. Looking for that star in the yellow and blue sky. You always took the long way home. Your comrades attempt to keep you warm. Heaven knows it's more than your skin that's torn. All hallelujahs will be sung to you. Brother and sister, you're more courageous than most. A little crazy to run down that dead-end road. You'll be protected now like you protected those. Hey, brave soldier, you won't have to suffer much more. Looking for that star in the yellow and blue sky. You always took the long way home. Now, hey, brave soldier, you won't have to suffer much more. Looking for that star in the yellow blue sky. You always took the long way home. I said you always took the long way home.
The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
Okay, let's talk about your gigs now. You've got a number of shows coming up. As we're recording this, you've got one coming up in Clapham later on this week, in fact. But talk to us about what makes a good gig for you. What do you look for in a perfect gig?
Makes a good show. When London City want to dance.
Yeah.
There's so many aspects, really. You know, even from the sound, the technical side of things, being able to hear yourself well, and when you've enjoyed a good sound check, and then you're excited for the performance a few hours later, rather than being a bit nervous or intrepid because things went wrong in the sound check or whatever. But it's just having friendly faces there, preferably on their feet standing. For me now, like with her group, we've done a few shows recently at nice venues like the Bedford and Balham, Hootenanny as well in Brixton, quite big venues. But the audience were predominantly seated. It was just what was provided by the booker, the promoter. But we'd like to return there again and like kick away all the tables and chairs and just go mental, just go crazy. And we can. I think we can. Assimilate our way onto different places, whether it's like an underground rave in a squat warehouse, or maybe even the corner of a hospital.
Yeah.
but I think we're quite flexible anyway.
So you quite like a sort of a pub gig where everyone's sort of up and about dancing away, rather than a sort of a sit down, everyone sort of listen closely type gig.
Yeah. And those ones. I mean, so by the end of it, I still cartwheel around the stage anyway. I'm kangarooing around a lot more than I used to. But you find that the people in the sit-down audience, they are absorbed in a different frequency. Still interested in music, but they maybe pay more attention to the lyrical content, for example. Whereas, if it's a more lively, drunken, jovial pub or rave party, the people are just listening to the beat, really the rhythm to go ham to.
It's interesting that you raise about the sound guy, or the sound person though as well, because it's something that often gets overlooked when we have these sort of conversations. But having a good sound check is massively important, isn't it? And getting someone that you trust at the other end of the hall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I should know because I've made my real like primary income for my adult life has been as a sound engineer, and a music producer too. But as a sound engineer, it's a bit of a thankless task in some ways, because when the show goes well, all the applause and scream and love and adoration goes for the bands on the stage, and no one really kind of notices a sound engineer. That's when you know you've done your job right. But as soon as there's a technical issue on stage, a bit of feedback, or suddenly you can't hear the voice, everyone turns around to the sound engineer, or with evil eyes, and like, oh God, you got the pressure on you to like pick up the pieces really quickly. But yeah, I've been doing it for years. I sound engineered Bastille, Florence and the Machine, Carolina Chocolate Drops, lots of these global artists and things really. So I know now full well when the show goes well and there's been no technical glitches, I always make it a priority to go up to the engineer and just give him a little fist bump and say thanks for your work and your effort, because they make it, they make the show as successful as the performers do. And
that's the thing, is that a venue like the Bedford in Balham, it's one that always gets brought up as having exceptional sound, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a sit-down sort of everyone stops and listens type gig, but it's worth it when you've got a sound that's as good as it is there.
Definitely, yeah. Richard's a sound engineer there, and he's very, very helpful, hospitable, and a good mixer of the sound. Yeah, it's unusual because you got the ground floor, and then there's a gallery upstairs, this balcony, and so I think it can hold maybe like 400 or 500 people perhaps at max. But it's not easy, because the people who are sitting on the bottom would be hearing a different perspective than the people up in the gallery on the top. So a good mixing engineer will consider all that.
So have you got any venues that you would love to play? Maybe even venues that you've done sound for yourself but actually not played yourself. Where would you like to play?
That's a good question. Yeah. Well, as we are a South London band and not far from Brixton, and I've seen so many greats and gods there, I think Brixton Academy would have to be the one to aim for, really. And quite a few of my friends have performed there as well, a few of my peers. So fingers crossed one day something will fall into place where we get the opportunity to perform there.
And you say a lot of the gods have played there. I mean, if you could play with anyone at the Brixton Academy, who would be the ultimate that you would collaborate with live?
What, alive or dead? Dead or alive?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
I'm honestly not that picky. If it was like Dame Edna Everidge said, "Would you like to come up on stage at Brixton Academy?" I'm like, "Yes, darling, I'm there."
Now that I would love to see. We've got to make that up.
Yeah, anything would go for me.
And who are you listening to now? Have you got any sort of artists that you're sort of current artists that you're really listening to a lot on your playlists at home? Any recommendations? Especially new music wise, because obviously we're all about plugging in.
Yeah, I know, and it's very easy for British people. I went to Jamaica once, and some guy I met, he was a little I think it's Irie FM. And he said, "You Brits are all the same. Always listen to old school music." So yeah, I think he was taking the piss at the fact that we still listen to so much stuff in the 60s and 70s, and we don't all.
Well, why not?
I know, it's
all good
still the
stuff,
best.
Yeah.
But new stuff that's excited me recently. I mean, there's lots and lots of things out there. There's a cool little band called the Molotovs. I've got to give a name drop to. Have you heard of them?
Seen them, yeah.
So, and these guys are like 14, 15, 16 years old. Brother and sister, Izzy and Matt. And then the drummer, Ice. She's like a little little Dave Grohl or something. She's a little animal. She's a crazy, amazing drummer. Really, really solid. Together the three of them, I think they'll be the savior of rock and roll, the next generation, and I'm sure they've got every opportunity of reminding youngsters and teenagers out there like the effects of an exciting punk rock gig, because that seems to have faded in the last decade or so. So I think Britain in particular needs sort of a new kind of little rock gods for others to look up to, really. So I'm excited to see what will come of them in future years. Yeah.
No, you're right. No, I've seen them perform live once, and they're definitely ones to watch. So yeah,
exciting.
So how about you for the rest of the year? What are your plans now? I mean, obviously you've got the next 4 weeks as we're recording this, in terms of your current release. But anything else planned in the way of other releases this year?
So if I manage to get out of this London City Don't Want to Dance release alive, we've survived this. The next plans will be to build on more shows. We've got other things. Obviously, we're playing a gig in Hampshire on the 8th of April. It'll be our first time, I think, performing in Hampshire. So there's a venue that I've booked us to play down there, and festivals will be coming through in the summer as well. But I was kind of considering recently, I still need to have the meeting with the band, but I think with Spectrum of Light, which you've had the acoustic version of here today, I think that could potentially be the next song we release, like the indie-tronica electro vibe version. I think it's got good commercial appeal. I think lots of radio stations might dig that one. I think it could be one to invest more money and time into widening the appeal, the reach that I can get with Alex the Wonderland's music. Yeah. So I think that could be the one. And also I've got a few ideas for a music video involving tons of UV glow paints. So have our bathtubs at the ready near the film studio at the end.
I look forward to it. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Just for anyone who wants to find out more about what you do, where can they find you on the socials and stuff?
alexandthewonderland.com. And Alex the Wonderland is also on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those other places too. So come follow us there and say hi anytime.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for coming down. It's been a pleasure having you down. Finally managed to get you into the studio, and hopefully we'll have you back again at some point.
Thanks so much, Alan. London City, I wanna taste you. This might seem like an unfamiliar rhythm, but I gotta pull it out. When you're sitting, it trips me out. Now London City, don't you wanna dance? If you can remember the fields in a whirly kind of way, the big smoke captured you, but you don't have to stay. You trip me out. And London City, don't you wanna dance? Yeah, London City. If you're searching for a higher ground, can your spirit awake just through sound? You trip me out. London City, don't you wanna dance? Yeah, London.
precious moment. She'll suck at that belief that you're just a component. You trip me out. London City, don't you wanna dance?